Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel. My name's FPL Phillips and today I'm bringing you our latest episode in our daily price change series. And we've got a lot of players to get onto and quite a few noticeable players to know all the deep dive on their statistics that we've used Fantasy Football Fix to collect as well. You can get links to all this, including the price changes website, down in the description. And there you can obviously keep up to date with all those price changes up to the very last second, so you have the best chance of being able to catch the price change, because price changes, as we know, they're not an exact science, they're always changing, and yeah, nice to always give a bit of a disclaimer about that, because although the accuracy rating is very, very good, it's not always 100%, and you should always take price changes from any website, really, with a bit of a pinch of salt, unless FPL come out and release their own one day, who knows. But yeah, there's a lot of players to get into tonight, and my favourite of the bunch is Antonio Rüdiger, who you can see fifth down on your screen right now, and Rüdiger has passed the 100% threshold and he's still rising at 0.9% per hour, a very respectable rate to be rising, especially after getting a clean sheet and a goal against Spurs in that convincing 3-0 win for Chelsea on Super Sunday. And Rüdiger's stats throughout the season have looked very good, and of course the biggest appeal of himself, the German, is that he's actually the most nailed Chelsea defender. He's played every minute so far and every competition for the Blues, and he's looking like a real solid option. He comes second in expected FPL points amongst defenders with 22.37. Behind Chelsea defenders is Alonso. So yeah, that's amongst Chelsea defenders. He's second only to Alonso in expected FPL points, which for someone who's nailed seems to be a very decent score. Of course, with Alonso at the start of the season, there were a lot of question marks over whether he'd be starting. How quick would Chilwell be back? Would they be rotating? Would Chilwell even have the primary spot and Alonso be delegated to the bench? But it seems like Alonso, for now at least, seems to have the starting edge. But if you're going for one Chelsea defender, my opinion is to go with Rüdiger. I just think going with the nailed defender is very important, because with all the injuries and stuff happening at the moment, it's important that we have as many players in our team who are nailed as possible. And although you may be sacrificing a few attacking returns, I think it's the best option in the long term, especially. Rüdiger is also third in XG amongst Chelsea's defenders, which is very interesting to note. So the highest of any centre-back. He's behind only Alonso himself and also Reece James in terms of XG, which is interesting because Reece James has only played a couple of games. That's not per 90. He's second in XG in total, which is very interesting. But also Reece James, another unnailed fullback, could be taken over by Hudson-Odoi at any minute, but I'd say that Reece James will probably be starting quite a lot of games. We know Azpilicueta can be deployed on that right-hand side for the Blues as well, depending on formation. Could change as well to a back four, in which case it will most likely be Azpilicueta who's taking that spot up. James is also joint with Rüdiger in terms of shots with 4 each. Again, that's only bettered by one man in Chelsea's back line, which is, of course, the Spaniard, Marcus Alonso, which is very interesting. But I really do like Rüdiger as a pick. Let me know what you guys think, because I'm really interested in getting him into my team. If you're looking for a wildcard option at Game Week 7, Game Week 8, that Chelsea fixture run is definitely something I would look to be jumping on. But yeah, moving on, I think that Dennis is a very nice option, and I did actually cover him in my watch list video over on my channel, FPL Phillips, today, if you want to go and check that out. Link to my channel is always in the description of these videos, so it's very nice. If you could go over, if you want to see a bit more of me, you can go ahead and subscribe over there. But Dennis faces two very shaky defences in Newcastle and Leeds next, who you definitely bag Watford to score a few goals, you know, one or even more against at least. And so I've seen a few people even eyeing up a double up of Ismail Sarr and Dennis for that run, so most likely only if you already own one of the two. But Dennis does also provide a very good option long term, in my opinion. Although he may not be my favourite out of all the budget strikers, he's certainly the cheapest one that looks the most promising. These next two games look really good, so again, for people who are wildcarding in Game Week 7 or 8, perhaps this could be an option that you look to bring in now and then take out there when there's a fixture, you know, like Liverpool, that they're facing really tough games. So the likes of Armstrong at Game Week 8 look very promising from the fixtures onwards. So if you're looking to bring in a striker now, if you've used your wild card, maybe someone like Armstrong could be one to look at, but he's 0.8 more, it's key to remember. But Dennis looks very nice for those who are looking to play their wild card. But again, it will mean that you're probably going to play your wild card in that game week. So if you're trying to plan and potentially not use it, maneuver it maybe with a couple of free transfers and get to game week 15 where you might want to play the wild card instead, or indeed another game week up until that point perhaps, then maybe Dennis isn't the one for you. Maybe going with Armstrong could be the way forward, but it's important to plan ahead, and that is a very interesting situation. But yeah, in terms of statistics amongst budget forward, so this are all taken from 6.0 and under bracket, Pookie at 5.9 and Armstrong himself at 6.0 are the only strikers to beat Dennis's expected FPL points. Dennis is on 17.34 himself, which is very, very interesting. But out of all of those 3 strikers that I've mentioned, there's only one who's underperforming his stats at the moment, and that is Adam Armstrong. It's not Emmanuel Dennis. So yeah, Dennis is actually overperforming his stats, as FPL Fantasy Football Fix are predicting. So yeah, in terms of shots, Dennis comes in second with 11 to Armstrong's 16. So yeah, both outscoring Pookie, which makes them my favourite in terms of shots. Norwich haven't looked brilliant going forward, but Pookie is still up there, which is a credit to his ability in what is rather a poor promoted Norwich side. There's also the 2 budget options themselves. Dennis and Armstrong both have 5 shots on target apiece. So Dennis is perhaps being a bit more clinical and getting his shots on target and working the keeper than Armstrong in this season. So yeah, as mentioned, the Chelsea fixture swing, we've noted that with Rüdiger. Armstrong, his fixtures outside of Chelsea, when he plays them in a couple of weeks, look very good. So perhaps if you're getting on him after that, the wildcard might be the time to move on Armstrong. Whereas now, if you're going for a wildcard in that time and you're looking to bring in a forward straight away, you need one. Perhaps you're downgrading Calvert-Lewin and looking to get funds elsewhere. I think that Dennis could be the one to go for a very, very solid 2-week punt. I really, really do like the sound of him, and it is worth noting that, you know, Dennis, if he rises tonight, will still be 0.7 less expensive than Adam Armstrong, so it's very key to consider. Where else could that money be spent? Can that money be used elsewhere to better improve my team and maintain and grow that squad value? We're not always considering just about squad value, but yeah, I would personally, if you have enough money for either, just go with who you're going to score the most points. Don't pay too much attention to squad value and ownership, all that stuff. Just go with who's going to get the most points, because that's what counts at the end of the day. And we've got one more player that I really wanted to mention tonight, and that is, of course, Ferran Torres, who you probably may have demoted, is the player who's going to be mentioned. He's at 7.2. He's in my team as well, which makes me even more. This will probably turn into even a rant potentially. But yeah, he's been pretty poor so far since I brought him in game week 4. Very, very disappointed 2 weeks. Obviously a 3-pointer and a 0-pointer where he didn't feature. I did get some Livramento points off the bench. Like, some people may have got some points off the bench, but still very disappointing not to see him feature in that Southampton game at home. But we always know that that's a risk with Pep Roulette, and so it's not really fair to ever get angry about it. But yeah, Ferran Torres still makes it to 6 points in expected FPL points amongst midfielders under 7.5. 6th place despite only registering 305 out of 450 minutes in the Premier League so far. So yeah, he's being subbed off early even when he starts, it seems. So yeah, he's missed 90 obviously straight away from missing that last game, but he's still not getting the full game a lot of the time. He also comes in second for XG for the same category, so midfielders under 7.5. And he's interestingly just behind Gallagher of Crystal Palace in first, which is very, very interesting, as Gallagher is nowhere near 7.5. He's a lot cheaper than that. So a hidden gem, perhaps, who I did mention in my watch list last week over on the FPL Phillips channel. So yeah, a very, very key player to look at. And FPL Raptor did cover him today in the transfer targets video. A very, very good video. Go and watch that one. I will remember to put a card up. If I do, it will be somewhere up there. Chelsea and Liverpool in the next 2 games also make Ferran Torres a pretty poor option, and is what I'm considering. I definitely probably will want to ship him out this week, and that's the same for a lot of managers with great options such as Sarr over the next 2, Rafinha long term, who are a lot cheaper. You know, people are looking to get off these Ferran Torreses, looking to potentially get off Jota too, when Firmino looks like he's back in training and will be returning to the starting 11 shortly. So a lot of people are making the decision to ship out the Spaniard this week before some tough fixtures, and it seems probably the sensible thing to do. You really can't blame them. As mentioned, we talked about Dennis with people wildcarding in game week 7 or 8. And, you know, you may be eyeing up a short-term move for Ismaila Sarr, who I just mentioned. So perhaps a double-up could actually be on the cards for some people. Sarr comes in third for XG, again in the same category. So midfielders under 7.5, despite only being priced at just over 6 million himself. But if you want to go for someone a bit more long-term, that would be where I would go with Rafinha. So it's very similar to the Dennis Armstrong dynamic. Both Watford players look very good in the short term for the next 2 weeks or so, whereas Armstrong and Rafinha look better for the long term, in my opinion. So yeah, that's my advice on who I would probably be replacing a few of these guys with. As mentioned, there's so many more transfer targets and so much more information and detail given on FPL Raptors video earlier today. Some very, very good players that I've been eyeing up personally for my team, and I think look like fantastic options. So go and check out that video if you haven't already. As always, please feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, turn on that notification bell, most importantly, so you don't miss our daily price change videos, because this is always a daily series and I'm absolutely loving every minute and every day of bringing it to you. Once again, I'm back at uni, so I'm still meddling around with the tech a bit. Apologies if the quality perhaps isn't as good as it normally is when I'm back at home, but yeah, we're having to make do at the moment. I'm trying to order a few things here and there to make life better for you all in the long term. So thank you for everyone who has tuned in to this point. I really appreciate you watching. As mentioned, you can go and check out my watch list video and FPL Raptors transfer targets video that came out here today. Thanks once more for watching. Hope you have a good week, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow, actually. Goodbye.